about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So I'm being told that 1 in 8 adults, in fact, I saw statistics saying 1 in 8 Americans. So I really hope we're not seeing kids on these drugs, but to the degree that we are with adults. But 1 in 8 are using Ozempic, semaglutide, Mounjaro, tirzepatide for weight loss or diabetes. And that's a pretty high number. And, we've discussed some of the side effects that you could have, even though the weight loss has been touted as extraordinary, as, life-changing. People losing 10% of their body weight, 12% of their body weight, keeping it off for a year. These are some of the results coming out of some of the studies from the drugs. But in terms of the side effects, the negative effects we've been hearing is people gaining weight despite being on the medicine. Like Tracy Morgan, I think, had said he burned through his Ozempic and still gained 40 pounds. The rapid regain in weight. There's been some issues when you lose the weight, protecting your heart, cholesterol, liver health. But then when you regain the weight, which are studies I've been asking for, let's see what happens when you have the rapid regain, what that does to your heart and your liver and your lipid levels, etc. And apparently there are, yes, rebound in those metrics. The pancreatitis, where your pancreas gets inflamed, gallstones, when you rapidly lose weight and you got this excess bile and bile buildup, you're at risk for gallstones. And some people have lost their gallbladder. Ileus, gastroparesis, difficulty with your bowel moving, because the way the drug works is it helps make you feel more full by slowing down your bowel transit and manipulating some of those hormones, which is, again, a fantastic way to lose weight. For people with diabetes, it has been a game changer with controlling their hemoglobin A1C. But again, we've never really used it in the general population who didn't have diabetes to the degree that we are now. And so one very concerning side effect that some experts are talking about, and they're not wrong, is the loss of bone mass. Now, this came up because they noticed that people who were losing weight rapidly on their Ozempic or Wegovy or Zepbound or Mounjaro were losing fat, but they were also losing muscle. And when you lose the muscle and the fat, they're also noticing a loss of bone density. Now, if you are working out and if you are only using these drugs, let's say you don't have diabetes, and this is just strictly for weight loss, if you are using it just to curb and temper those cravings, and you are ensuring that you are still working out and doing resistance and reps and being whether it's cardio or whether it's stress exercise that helps maintain your bone mass, if you're doing that, I don't believe you're going to be losing that much bone mass because you're keeping it up. But I had a patient last week who said, called in for something unrelated, and she said she lost 25 pounds. And I go, wow, you lost 25 pounds? Tell me what you're doing. What's your workout regimen? Oh, God, I don't work out. Nah, I've been on semaglutide. I'm like, well, let me put that in your chart because it doesn't say you're on the semaglutide, but you're not working out? Well, so the problem we have is the fewer times you are working out and moving, et cetera, and you start to lose that bone mass, that's harder to get. So if you go off your semaglutide or tirzepatide or Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, whatever brand name, and you go off of it, you'll get your fat back. Yeah, there's a very, very good chance you'll regain that. But are you going to regain your muscle? Are you going to regain the bone? And so a concern we have is, and being a physician, I always worry about fall risk. I look at you in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s and your 50s and your 60s, and I'm like, are you going to fall and break a hip? Because the one thing that just blows our mind in medicine is how you could be a healthy person, walking around, happy, go lucky, working, active, and then you trip, and then you're dead. within a week or two. A good friend of mine just lost his mom. She had some recent shoulder surgery, did great after the shoulder surgery, running around, doing some errands in the house, has a fall. Dead 12 days later after that hip fracture. And so I don't want to scare you guys. This is why grandma and grandpa, are like, okay, hold on here. Let me find a railing. And I got to tell you, I'm starting to do that too. Once I had a fall in the bathroom, I'm like, wait a second here. Okay, I'm getting to the age where, thank God, my bone density is still strong because my doctor checks it. But you get a hip fracture, wow. Now, there are many individuals that do really, really well, still after a hip fracture. But there's a very good chance that some people don't. Your body does not do well. I don't know if it's nature's way of saying, well, they can't hunt and gather and whatever. So, let them have the easiest path, back to heaven. I don't know why. I understand the pathophysiology of it. You aren't moving. And if you aren't moving, you're more prone to blood clots. You're more prone to pneumonia. You're more prone to infection and bed sores. But honestly, my friend's mom dead in 12 days. And all she did was fall in her house. That was it. And so it's frightening. It's frightening to think how your end could be because of the cat or the dog or a toy that, the grandkids leave. So we don't want you to lose your bone mass at all. And so if you are taking these weight loss drugs, are you on a daily basis still doing some exercise? I understand the studies are saying, well, you don't have to exercise every day. You could do the weekend warrior thing where you only have to work out on the weekends. I don't want you sitting and doing nothing for 5 days a week just to then go on a couple hikes on the weekend. I want to make sure you're doing something every day, even if it's for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But you need to keep up that bone mass. And you don't have to jog. You don't have to do things that are going to make you fall. But talk to your medical provider about a good exercise regimen that'll help you build your bones. I think walking is fantastic. I think some light weights, 5-pound, 10-pound weights, things you could do. A little bit of treadmill, a little bit of stair stepper. I love the rowing machine at our gym. But you need to do things that kind of stress the bones. And calling your mother-in-law doesn't count. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hotshot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Well, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah or X, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So, this is interesting. Walmart has come out saying that they actually might do better now with the tariffs. Why? Well, remember, COVID, Walmart, and their shipping, although they had to really pivot because Amazon was the biggest contributor. But Walmart feels like they are in a really good position to outprice competitors. And so if because of the bulk and because of how they, their big box stores and their formulas, they feel they are able to still do well. They're going to do well despite the tariffs. You've noticed the stock market. I think NASDAQ's up, Dow Jones up, not by a lot, but positive. I mean, I don't see the tumbling that we saw last week. And so, I've said this, from the beginning that, the patience Democrats had shown when it came to climate change, saying, hey, guys, I know it's going to cost money buying a Tesla. I know it's going to cost money doing solar panels, but this is going to be worth it for our great-grandchildren. So we need to save the planet for our great-great-great-great-grandchildren. So we have to do this now, and no pain, no gain. Yet the stocks tumble, at the news of tariffs for a couple days, and nobody has any patience. Nobody has, oh, no, this is going to be horrible. It's the end of the world. Really? Really? Okay, if the tariff issue and us not getting screwed and us being more independent and bringing companies into America and increasing our jobs and not having established and set in stone the ridiculous screw over we have with all the other countries charging us more, that getting fixed. If that isn't helping our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, then what is? From an economic standpoint, I think it's brilliant. Now, apparently, goods from at least 60 countries, Trump is saying, are the worst offenders. And now they're going to be subject to additional taxes. Some of these are as low as an extra 11%. China, he went up to 104. China, they're playing chicken. China is trying to, it's going to be very, very interesting. Because, a lot of the other countries are like, whatever you need, we're going to, let's negotiate. Japan, Israel, European Union, they're helping. They're going to, they've realized they charge us more. We're not letting that happen. But China, wow. Yeah, China, they're gonna fight as long as they can. Because remember, China thinks they are the biggest and the baddest on the globe. They think America is like a little, flea that they could flick off. But this is Trump. No, they're not. I just love watching the psychology of all this. So tariffs are taxes that are charged on goods bought from other countries. So if there is, let's say, a 25% tariff on something that costs $10, there's going to be an additional $2.50 added to that. So then it costs $12.50. So if there's like a 104% tariff, if something costs $10, the tax is going to be $10.40. Because I know people are like, wait a second here. 100% is 100%. Then what is 104%? Well, it's not a percent to the max. It's a percent on top of. So what is 200% of $10? 20. So Trump could go higher. He could go up to 500, 5,000% if he wants to. So something coming from China that costs $10 right now, if there's a 104% tariff, it's going to be now $20.40 with that extra $10.40. So companies that bring the foreign goods into the country are going to have to pay that. Now, everybody says the consumer is going to pay for it. Indirectly, yes. Yeah, what these companies are going to do is to still hit their profit margin. They're going to transfer the cost. But when you hear these media outlets saying taxpayers are now paying 104%, not exactly. China is supposed to pay that. But they may turn around and do that. But Trump is not telling Americans they have to pay for it. A tariff is what the other country has to pay for. And the money is collected when the imported goods clear U.S. customs. That's from what I understand, and BBC breaks this down. So the firm or whoever is selling that product can just take it and eat it, the cost, or they could say, you want to know what? Your product that we were selling for $10, now we're selling for 15, now we're selling for 20. See, here's why that I'm not as fearful of, because they've already done that. The problem I had during the Biden administration is stuff was already more expensive. I mean, look at what people were paying for Ozempic and Wegovy and Zepbound and Mounjaro. They were already paying $1,000 to $1,600 a month. Things were expensive already. Toilet paper. You know, I went on Amazon to see how much more toilet paper and paper towel. It hasn't really gone up because we were already paying a crap load. Now, we should be getting those from American sources, but we're already paying the China and they've already been passing on the extra costs. And so if here you are saying, I'm not going to spend this money on this, then you don't. Yeah, I was taking my son to Southern California. This was, I think, months ago. I think this was in November. We stopped by a Carl's Jr. for lunch. Came to $36 for fast food. I've stopped by that Carl's Jr. before, paid $12, $15. Now it's $36 for lunch for two. Are you kidding me? And that was to go. So eventually the consumer's like, no, we're not paying this. Now, if it is something we really, really need from China, we're in trouble. If we don't make enough of our medicines in this country, if we don't make enough chips or whatever, and we're relying on China or Chinese companies that have now hijacked other countries to make their goods so they could take advantage of smaller tariffs, then we're screwed. But that's why Trump wants to encourage that stuff being done here, that manufactured here. Why do we need Canada for their lumber? What can we do? Now, I understand Canada has a lot of land that's not necessarily developed, and so they have more trees, but still, what can we do to become more independent from these other countries? And we won't tariff them if they cut their tariffs down. See, it's stick it to everybody else. That's what everyone's doing right now. Let's stick it to everybody else. And I really think this is a huge win for Americans if we can lower the tariffs of what we're paying to other countries. Start to tell people, look, just because we're America, it's very flattering that you all think we're rich and we're so powerful that we could pay double the tariffs. But we don't need the flattery anymore. We know we're good. We know we're the best. So if China's charging us 67% and we're charging them 37%, but then China, balked at that, and then now it's 104%. So Trump's gonna it's gonna be a little bumpy as it pertains to China. But if these other countries are like, okay, I guess we can't screw over America anymore. Like when the U.S. is like, why are we giving more than anybody else to the World Health Organization? Why are we giving more to Ukraine than other countries? Where's everybody else? And then we look like bad guys when we want to cut the funding. So if Trump's like, well, we're going to cut the funding or we're going to equate it to the other countries, is that really wrong? If we've been overpaying this whole time? With the World Health Organization, I got a bone to pick with them because they really didn't oversee what was happening in these labs, especially in China with COVID. And then when it did come out, all we got were excuses. Well, maybe it's from bat soup or a fish market really? What are we paying you all these millions of dollars for? Yes, I love the help that is given to underserved countries, people needing badly needed vaccines, etc. But for the amount of money we're paying, somebody was sleeping on the job. And I'm not saying they could have prevented COVID entirely, but we could have had a lot more transparency. We could have been, I mean, they should have immediately come out and they should have done the inspection they need to. They're the World Health Organization. They're supposed to be the biggest and the baddest. Shut down any labs that were leaking things. Make sure all other labs across the world are following proper protocols. And I don't know if they did it, but I know Trump didn't want to give them more money. 1-877-Doc-Dali. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, we all saw Jurassic Park. I hope we all saw Jurassic Park. Okay, no spoilers. If you haven't seen Jurassic Park, come on, it's been out for decades. But in Jurassic Park, they brought back dinosaurs. They were able to, with gene editing and tech, be able to make dinosaur babies and then make dinosaurs. They have this big, beautiful park with dinosaurs. I know I don't want to go to outer space or Mars, but I would go to a Jurassic Park. I've always been fascinated by dinosaurs. So seeing a dinosaur in person, I would want to ensure that the electric fences are working and make sure nobody is trying to steal anything and put it in a shaving container. But I was fascinated by that. But one theory that hit home on is you cannot bring back an endangered species to an ecosystem that has never seen that species before, because it could cause a cascade, a domino effect of deleterious issues on current species. Kind of messes with the timeline of things. Well, there's a company that apparently has brought back an endangered species and wants to work on more. Now, they're not doing dinosaurs. They could, I guess, eventually. But let me tell you what this article says. This definitely caught my eye. It's from USA Today. Colossal Biosciences has released photos and videos, they say, of living, breathing dire wolves. Now, dire wolves were predators thought to have been killed off on this continent when the Ice Age ended 13,000 years ago. How did they do it? Well, they have gene editing and other techniques, and they harvested ancient DNA from the real fossils of dire wolves. They had a 13,000-year-old tooth and a 72,000-year-old skull. With those, they created dire wolf genomes, genetic codes. Then they edited the genome of the dire wolf's oldest surviving relative, the gray wolf, to express wolf traits. They then used surrogate dog mothers, so doggies, to give birth to these new fertilized dire wolf eggs. And now they say Colossal has 3 dire wolf puppies living on their preserve. I guess they have a preserve. So they had to connect the old DNA to a living species and then manipulate the traits to be able to have a dog who I guess was implanted with this egg to give birth to it, because it had to grow. I remember dinosaur eggs were able to be grown in a lab, but a wolf has to be given birth by mama wolf or a dog. So I guess this mommy surrogate gave birth now to these baby wolves. Now, Colossal said they also used the technology to give birth to 4 red wolves. Red wolves are also an endangered species. The successful birth of the dire wolves buttresses their goals of helping de-extinct species and to sustain some endangered species. So they want to save the red wolf. They want to show that they could bring back other wolves. And so Harvard Medical School geneticist and co-founder of Colossal said preserving, expanding, and testing genetic diversity should be done well before important endangered animal species like the red wolf are lost. The dire wolf is an early example of this, including the largest number of precise genomic edits in a healthy vertebrate so far, a capability that is growing exponentially. So now they want to bring back the woolly mammoth. Now, I don't think I want, or like the saber-toothed tiger. I'm going to watch Ice Age again because, they bring up a lot of animals that we no longer have. But that's what they want to do. They want to bring back a cold-resistant elephant with all the core biological traits of the woolly mammoth. They say it could revitalize the Arctic grasslands and result in major climate change combating properties, including carbon sequestering, methane suppression, and light reflection. Really? Have you ever seen a woolly mammoth fart? My guess is a woolly mammoth he exudes a lot of methane. So here's the thing. All right. I get that it would be really, really cool, especially with everything we've done in science, to buck death, buck nature, buck the tincture of time, and to be able to maintain and things that used to be on this planet. And I get how exciting that is if you have an endangered species that are dying off where you could be able to keep them going. The problem is nature has a way. And every time we've messed with nature, it bites us in the ass. And there's this old Jewish saying, man dinks, God links. Man works, God laughs. Meaning we might think we've tricked, God, or we've been able to control, our destiny and control Earth and control what we're doing. And God's up there laughing. You guys don't have the control. And so part of our evolution, the reason why we humans have been able to progress where we are is because we haven't had some of the other animals now extinct killing us off. Humans are pretty weak compared to other animals. Look at how somebody screws around at a zoo and gets mauled. Or that woman was on a safari and the animals mauled her. I mean, animals can kill us in a heartbeat. A snake can. A black widow can. So we have learned to separate and say, okay, well, the animals stay here and the humans stay here. And we have been able to do a fairly good job with that. But now you have a species that is bigger and powerful. Like these woolly mammoths were big suckers. And I'm sure somebody's going to say, well, let's do dinosaurs. Let's do dinosaurs. And we as humans are not equipped. And I'm not saying Jurassic Park is real and 100% science. But there's a reason for some of these animals to have become extinct. Is it because they couldn't withstand some of the infectious disease out there? Wasn't it the Tasmanian devil babies? There was something killing off Tasmanian devils, but the babies were surviving. So there was something genetically happening with the babies. I got to look this up. This was years ago. And so how nature does it, this whole survival of the fittest and Darwinian selection is your Darwinian survival of the fittest and natural selection works is if you have the right genes at the right time for your right environment, you're going to thrive. And you are going to withstand some of the the pressures and challenges that ecosystem is putting on you because you have figured out a way to survive. Now, people say, well, humans now have tech, so we know how to survive. We are building a new beast with tech. And I'm telling you, it is just a matter of months when somebody asks AI how to deal with world hunger or how to deal with rising healthcare costs or lack of ventilators, and AI is going to say, let people die. You'll solve the problem with fewer population. And there's going to be some idiot dictator or some idiot who says, well, they're right. And in fact, I watched this, The Sphere is gorgeous in Las Vegas, but they had this movie like postcards from, I don't know what the hell that movie is. And it was basically about extinction and how Earth may need to just completely shut down. And then they start from scratch on a new planet. And and everybody walked out of there just kind of like, what was that? Depressed and whatever. And people are saying, well, that's extinctionism. And I'm not saying the movie was promoting it, but they said that's what they thought. Maybe that's what was the underlying theme, where the more humans we have, the worse it is for America or the worse it is for the globe. So people need to die and we have to have fewer people. So be very careful with what you're trying to reintroduce, because I don't think we humans are prepared. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I get to talk to a lot of younger people because of students and because of what I do. There's and I get to hear the attitudes of the Gen Zs and millennials. And while us Gen X's and baby boomers might be like, why don't they want to get married? What is it? You know what? And you know, some of the excuses I've shared with you that some of them have, or I don't want to say the word excuses in a negative context, some of their concerns or reasonings and justifications is, the pain of pregnancy, the pain of having a baby, the work that it goes through, the money, the climate. People are worried about climate change and they don't want to have kids. Getting divorced, divorce rate, the cost of a wedding. But another more subset that is really affecting some of their decision making is they don't want to be an ex-wife or the ex-wife. See, I grew up never wanting to be the mother-in-law, the mean mother-in-law, or I never wanted to be the mean stepmother or whatever. There's been enough movies or enough probably, witnessing in their own families where they don't want to be the ex-wife. There's a meme that's circulated, that still is circulating, where you see Melania Trump standing next to Trump. She's exquisite. Yeah. You see Camilla being there, standing next to Prince Charles and King Charles now, King Charles. And the meme said, it pays to be the side chick. Now, I think this was when Camilla became queen, and that's what, circulated, etc. And I have no idea if Trump cheated with Melania on, Maples and her previous wife. I don't want to get into that. But the meme is kind of, this is something that younger people are looking at going, so wait a second. So if you were the one that bore them their children, even though Princess Diana has left us, may she rest in peace, but you were the one on the side, or you were the one they loved and left, or they, people, apparently the younger generation is worried that they are going to be used as the baby making machine for them to have the babies, to support them through their career. And then once they lose their looks and they become 40, 50 years old, they get dumped. Now, this is a fear women had also in the 70s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They were worried that, okay, they look good now in their 20s, but what happens when they become 40 and 50? Now, most men are absolutely fantastic. I love men, and they are very committed, and they will support you no matter what, and they will follow their vows. But the young people are seeing this kind of trend where older women get dumped. Now, is it because of their looks? Is it because the relationship falls through? Is it because they just don't get along? All they're doing is fighting, and is it also that she wanted to leave the marriage too? It wasn't just him. It's just the marriage ended. They fell out of love, but the idea of, I don't want to be the ex-wife, or I don't want to build him up, get to a point where, we finally get to be successful, get to relax a little bit. I don't have to wear the Spanx, and then I get dumped. And one young woman said, how do you prevent that? How do you prevent not getting dumped once you lose your youth? And that's not an easy question, because I now I'm thinking to myself, I better be nicer to Corey. I would not do well out there on the market. So I do not want to go out there. I do not want to be single again. That would be very, very difficult. And it's not easy. First and foremost, my advice is make sure you're marrying for love. A lot of people got married because their friends were getting married. And I saw that in my 20s. Okay, well, my sister's engaged. My aunt's young aunt is getting engaged. And I'm the only one without a ring. A bridesmaid, but never a bride. So they look to their boyfriend going, okay, you got to do this. I need to be married. And do you really love him? I mean, is this the person you want to spend the... Yeah. They're so in love with the idea of getting married that do they really love that person? I mean, love that person, in sickness and in health, and for thicker or for, thicker, for something or poor, sicker, no, or poorer, I don't know, till death do you part. I even forgot my, we had different vows when we got married. The vows were a little different. Yeah. For sicker, for poorer, no, in sickness and in health, I don't know, whatever the hell they were. But anyway, and so they're like, well, I want to get married and I want to have kids. That is what I'm in love with. So they end up having the kids. They end up going through the marriage. And then these are two people that really should have never gotten married. And so the first piece of advice I give anybody is make sure you really, really love them. Now, it's difficult when you have certain constraints. I think living together, even though I totally respect people's religion saying, I want to wait till I'm married. I get that. And I respect that. But boy, when you move in with somebody, That's when a lot comes out. That's when you get some realism. That's also when you see the family. A lot of marriages break up because of the in-laws. And so once you live together, that's when the in-laws are really all up in your retroperitoneum, and you could get a much better idea of what life is going to be like with marriage. And if you could get through that, and you guys are fine, you might get through that. Don't marry somebody who cheats. If you were a side chick, that is not, be careful. Okay. Now I understand there could be some relationships, like from what I understand from the Crown, King Charles always loved Camilla. And that was his love of his life. And I believe there are people out there where they are really meant to be. And nobody is going to, but, for the rest of us who aren't royalty, if you were a side chick, there's a chance then, now you're going to be the one that has to leave because there's a new side chick. So make sure you're not with a cheater. Now, I understand that person's going to say, but I married the wrong person. You were the one I was supposed to be with. And that's, is it just amor? Is it just passion and, below the waist love? Or is it, true above the waist love? But we never know what's going to happen. And when we spoke about people having backups, that quiet cheating, it's because of this fear that once you turn 40 or once you turn 50, you're going to be dumped. Now, the fear decades ago was you would lose your spouse. They would die of cancer or heart disease, and you would be a widow. Now, with, it's more, well, somebody's going to leave. They're going to find something better. They're going to find somebody that, knows exactly what to say, is more fun. I mean, the conversations Corey and I have, did you take out the garbage? Do I need to walk the dog, or did you set up the grooming? Did you? Corey and I love him to death, but yeah, it's not the sexiest conversation. Once you're married for 20 some years, it's, oh, you know what? I got a sale on eggs. You did? Yeah. I didn't have to go to Costco. I was able to get, oh, that's good, honey. Great. So it's not going to be like the conversations that you see on White Lotus, or, oh, you're the love of my life and you're this. And then, although, wow. I don't want to be like the girl in White Lotus. That did not work out. Sorry, no spoilers. Sorry. So, you can't. You don't know what's going to happen. Love is very transit. You could have the deep, deep love that'll last, for, God, why do I keep thinking of the word thick? But, things happen. People, fall apart, or people grow apart. So your job is to make sure you're still going to be independent. You have a career. You didn't give up your friends, so that if, God forbid, you do find yourself single, you didn't hurt family relationships, or you make sure that you still have that support system. 1-877-Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.